You know, when you deliver pizzas for a living, you pretty much see it all. You're a ghost in people's lives for 30 seconds. You see the guy in his boxers who's clearly been playing video games for 12 hours straight. You see the family dinner that went off the rails, and now pizza is the ceasefire. Drunk college kids, stressed out moms, lonely old folks where you're the only person they'll talk to all day. You get used to the rhythm of it. The smell of cardboard and old pepperoni just seeps into your car seats, becomes your permanent cologne. It's not a great gig, but it's a gig, and I needed it. Most nights, it's just background noise. A to B, B to A. Just trying to make enough in tips to keep the gas tank full and the lights on. My '09 Civic isn't getting any younger, and that check engine light has been on so long, I've just accepted it as part of the dashboard's normal glow. And then there was the standing order. In the delivery business, a standing order is a godsend. It's reliable. It's money you can count on. And this one was perfect. Every single Friday, 8 p.m. on the dot. One large pepperoni, 1 2-liter of cola. The destination, though, that was the only weird part. It was the last house on Old Hemlock Road, a long winding country lane that just stopped. I mean, it literally just stopped. The pavement turned to gravel, the gravel turned to dirt, and at the very end of it, tucked back in a grove of overgrown pines, was this old 2-story house. The trees were so thick they practically blotted out the sky. The customer's name was just Hemlock. For the first few months, it was the easiest delivery of the week. The instructions on the app were always the same. Leave on porch. Cash is under the mat. Do not knock. Fine by me. I'd pull up, my headlights cutting through the darkness, landing on this dark shape of a house. It would be totally dark, except for a single dim yellow porch light that always seemed to be flickering like a dying insect. I'd jog up, swap the pizza for the $30 under the mat. He always tipped well, and I'd be back in my car and gone in 30 seconds. Easy money. As the months wore on, I started to notice things. The lawn, which was just lawn at first, started to become a full-on jungle. Weeds as high as my waist. The mailbox at the end of the gravel drive was hanging open on one hinge, stuffed with soggy flyers and yellowed envelopes. It was a house that felt forgotten. One Friday in early summer, I pulled up and there was something new. Sitting right in the middle of the porch, next to the doormat, was a single muddy child's boot. A little red rain boot. It was weird, you know. There was no other boot. Just the one. I put the pizza down, took the cash, and looked at that boot for a long time. I just had this cold feeling. I didn't see any toys, no bikes, no signs of a kid. I got in my car and left a little faster than usual. A few weeks later, the note on the app changed. Don't look at the upstairs window. I mean, what do you do with that? It's like saying, don't think of an elephant. Of course, the first thing I did when I got out of my car was look up. All the windows were black, except one. The one on the far right. And I swear I saw the curtain move. Just a little twitch. I dropped the pizza, grabbed the cash, and practically fell back into my car. Then came the night in October. It was pouring rain. That cold, miserable rain that just soaks you to the bone and turns the gravel drive into a river of mud. I pulled up, grabbed the pizza bag, and ran to the porch, shielding my head with my arm. I bent down, lifted the mat. Nothing. No cash. I sighed. This was the worst. This meant interaction. I stood there, getting soaked, and finally, I knocked. The sound was flat, like I was knocking on a log. I waited. Nothing. I knocked again, harder this time. Pizza delivery. For Hemlock, I was just about to turn around and leave, to just eat the cost of the pizza, when I heard it. A series of slow, shuffling footsteps, like someone dragging a heavy bag of wet sand across a hardwood floor. A lock scraped. A deadbolt thudded open. The door opened, but only a crack. Just a slice of darkness. "The money," I stammered, holding the pizza box out. "It wasn't under the mat." A hand snaked out of the dark. And I gotta tell you, I almost dropped the pizza. I almost screamed. It was the palest hand I'd ever seen. Not just pale, but waxy. Like a mannequin's hand. The fingernails were long, and they were black, just caked with this dark, crescent moon shape of dirt under them. The hand was holding out a crumpled $20 and a $10. The money itself felt damp and ice cold. I quickly made the swap. As I did, a voice whispered from the darkness. It was a horrible sound. A dry, raspy, paper-on-paper sound. "Just leave it." The door clicked shut. The deadbolt slid home. I stood there for a second, my heart hammering, and then I sprinted back to my car, the rain feeling like it was trying to wash the wrongness off me. After that, things got weirder. The cash under the mat thing stopped. The orders were all prepaid, but the notes got insane. Leave by the old well. There was no well. I just left it by a stump. The dogs can smell you, be quick. I never heard a dog. Not once. And then the smell started. At first, I thought it was a dead raccoon. It was that sickly sweet, rotten smell of decay. It hung heavy in the air, especially on damp nights. My boss, Sal, just shrugged when I mentioned it. "Mike, it's the sticks. Things die. You're getting tipped 50% on these. Just drop the food and spray some Febreze." But it got worse. By the time last Friday rolled around, the smell was so thick, so overpowering, that I had to pull my t-shirt up over my nose just to walk from the car. It wasn't dead raccoon anymore. It was industrial failure. It was a smell it was the smell of a lot of something, very, very rotten. I pulled up. It was about 8:15 p.m. I was running late. This time, the house was completely dark. No yellow porch light. Nothing. Just a black cutout against a black sky. A cold dread pooled in my stomach. "I'm not doing this," I said to myself. I texted Sal. "Hey, place is dark. Looks like no one's home. And it stinks. I mean, bad. I'm bringing this one back." My phone buzzed a second later. He already paid on the app. Tipped $50. 50. "Mike, just leave it on the porch and come home. It's your last one." $50. That was my electric bill. Fine. I grabbed the pizza and the cola. I walked up to the pitch-black porch, my phone's flashlight cutting a wobbly circle in the dark. The smell was suffocating. It was coming from inside the house. The windows were closed, but it was just seeping out. There was no note on the mat. Instead, a piece of paper was taped to the door. Written in shaky, black marker was one word: "Come in." I froze. No, absolutely not. This is where the guy in the horror movie dies. I turned around. I was walking back to my car. I was gone. And then I heard it. A faint thump. From inside. My stupid brain. He was an old guy, right? What if he'd fallen? What if he was hurt? And the smell was, I don't know, something he'd been cooking that rotted. "Hello?" I called out. "Pizza delivery, sir." I pushed on the door. It wasn't locked. It swung open with a long, slow creak. The smell that hit me was a physical thing. It was a wall of rotten meat and ammonia. I gagged, pulling my shirt over my face, and threw up a little in my mouth. My flashlight beam cut into the living room. The place was a disaster. Stacks of newspapers, old boxes, trash, a hoarder's palace. "Mr. Hemlock?" I called out, my voice trembling. "Sir, I've got your food." I followed the beam of my light. I saw the armchair facing an old, dark TV screen, and I saw the shape in it. He was gone. Mr. Hemlock was sitting in that chair, but he was barely human. He was bloated, his skin a horrible gray-green color, covered in movement, insects. It was immediately, sickeningly obvious that he had been dead for a very, very long time. Weeks, maybe a month. I screamed. I dropped the pizza. I dropped the soda. I stumbled back, fumbling for my phone. My thumb was shaking so bad I could barely unlock it. 911, 911. As I was dialing, my flashlight beam, just waving wildly, cut across the kitchen counter. And I stopped. My blood turned to ice. On the counter was a stack of my pizza boxes. 4 of them, all neatly stacked, all empty. My mind just broke. It couldn't process. If Mr. Hemlock has been dead for a month, who took the pizza last Friday? And the Friday before? Who was the hand that came out of the door? Who just paid $50 on the app? I froze. My breath hitched in my chest. The house was dead silent, except for the sound of my own heart in my ears. I slowly tilted my flashlight beam up towards the darkness at the top of the stairs. And then I heard it, from the shadows on the landing. That same dry, raspy whisper. But it wasn't one voice this time. It sounded like more than one. We were so hungry. I've been a courier for 6 years. I'm not one of these gig work kids in a beat-up sedan. I'm professional. I drive the big brown truck. I've got the route, the scanner, the uniform. And I like my job. I like the routine. I like being on my own, just me and the road. A list of tasks to be checked off. You get to know your route, you know? You know the dog that barks at 2 p.m., the lady who's always waiting by the door for her sewing supplies, the house where the kids always wave. It's a predictable, orderly life. I'm a single mom. Predictable it's good. It's safe. Or at least, it was. It all started with a did not receive. ADNR. For a driver, that's like a personal insult. It means a customer's claiming you either stole their package or you're so incompetent, you delivered it to the wrong universe. This one came from an address I knew well. 1412 Sycamore. A small, gray-sided rental house with these massive, overgrown hedges that almost covered the front windows. It always gave me the creeps. The name on the complaint was R. Volkov. I knew I'd delivered it. I remembered it. It was a small box from a pharmacy. I tucked it behind the storm door, out of the rain, just like the note said. But it's my word against his. My supervisor, Dave, just grunted. He's one of those guys who's been in middle management, so long he's just deflated. "Look, Jenna," he said, not even looking up from his computer. "The customer is always right. Just get a signature next time. It's a black mark. A black mark. I hate black marks." I hadn't had a black mark in 3 years. A week later, it happened again. Same address. R. Volkov. Another DNR. This time it was a box of, protein powder. Okay, I thought. You want a signature. You got it. I went to the house, package in hand. I rang the bell. Waited. Nothing. Rang it again. I could hear a TV on inside. I knocked hard. Courier. Package for Volkov. Nothing. So I did what we're supposed to do. I left a "sorry we missed you" slip. And as I was walking back to my truck, I just had this feeling. I looked back, and I saw the blinds in the front window, the one behind the hedges, just snap shut. He was in there. He was waiting for me to leave. The next day, another DNR. Driver refused to deliver. Now I was in real trouble. Dave was talking about a performance review. I was furious. I went back to 1412 Sycamore, off the clock, in my own car. I was going to, I don't know, talk to this guy. But the house was dark, looked empty, and that's when I started seeing him. The first time was at a bus stop, just 2 streets over from Sycamore. I was driving by on my route, and this man just stared at me. He wasn't looking at his phone, wasn't looking for the bus. He was watching my truck. He was pale, with this gaunt, hollowed-out look, and he had a scar, a thin, white line that ran from his ear down to his collar. He was wearing a thin jacket, even though it was summer. He just watched me. I drove by, and his head turned, his eyes following me until I turned the corner. It was unsettling. I saw him again 2 days later. At a gas station on my route, I was inside grabbing a coffee. He was at a pump, just standing there, holding the nozzle, but his car wasn't even on. His eyes, they were locked right on me through the window. The same guy, the same scar. He didn't blink. The complaints from 1412 Sycamore kept coming. Our Volkov was ordering something new every other day. A book, a phone charger, a single bag of dog food, even though I'd never hurt a dog. And every single time, it went missing. He was forcing me to come back to his street, over and over. He was playing a game. The stalking escalated. I saw the gray sedan parked outside the little cafe where I get my lunch. He was just there. Then, one day, I finished my route and went to my son's daycare, and the gray sedan was parked across the street. He was just watching. That was it. I called the police. I told them this guy, this R. Volkov, was stalking me, that I thought he was linked to the package complaints. The officer was nice, but you know the drill. Has he threatened you, Mom? Is it illegal to park on a public street? We can go talk to him, but he hasn't done anything. I felt so helpless. I showed Dave the police report. He finally took me seriously. He said he'd reroute 1412 Sycamore to another driver. I felt a sliver of relief, but it was too late. He wasn't at 1412 Sycamore anymore. He knew my route. He knew my truck. And now, he knew where my son went to school. It all came to a head last Tuesday. It was a late shift. Dark, foggy, that misty rain that makes the roads slick. I was on my way home, my nerves just completely frayed. I'd been checking my mirrors all day. Every gray sedan was him. I felt like I was being hunted. I was on the industrial bypass. It's a long, empty road. Just dark warehouses and chain-link fences. I pulled up to a red light, the only car on the road. And then, headlights. A car pulled up right behind me, way too close. The high beams were on, blinding me in my mirrors. It was a gray sedan. My heart just stopped. I knew who it was. The light stayed red. It felt like an eternity. I was looking at the cross street. Change. Change. Please change. My hand was shaking so hard, I couldn't even put the truck in gear. My truck door lock clicked. Thump. He was out of his car. I watched in my side view mirror as he walked, slowly, not in a hurry, right up to my driver's side door. I was in a big brown truck. I should have felt safe, but I felt like I was in a tiny, locked box. He smiled, a thin, awful smile. He just stood there in the rain. Tap, tap, tap. He knocked on my window. I was screaming inside, but I couldn't make a sound. He lifted his hand. He was holding his phone. He pressed the screen to the glass. It was a picture of a news clipping from maybe 8-9 years ago. Local clerk testifies in armed robbery. And under the headline was a picture of me. My mind flashed back. The convenience store job. The job I had in college to pay for tuition. The man with the gun. The smell of stale beer and cigarettes. The man who'd held it to my head while he cleaned out the register. The man I'd pointed at in court. The man with the scar on his neck. R. Volkov. Robert Volkov. He wasn't a customer. He was a convict. He was out. This was never about packages. This was never about a scam. This was about him. He used my job, my predictable, orderly job, to find me. The complaints, the DNRs, it was all just to confirm it was me. To make me come back. To terrorize me. The light turned green. He didn't move. He just pointed. A single bony finger. He pointed to my passenger seat. I looked over, my whole body shaking. There was a package. A small white pharmacy box. Just like the first one. It hadn't been there a minute ago. I never leave packages on the passenger seat. He must have. When I was at the daycare, when I ran inside, he must have opened my truck. The shipping label was handwritten. The 2 was my name. Jenna, the from just said, me. I looked back at him. His smile was gone. His eyes were dead. He mouthed one word through the glass. Run. I do the gig app thing. You know, ride sharing, food delivery, whatever pays. You live by the app, and the app is a gamble. You're just sitting in a Target parking lot at 10 p.m., your car smelling like old French fries, just waiting for that ding, praying it's not a $3 Taco Bell run to the other side of town. My bank account is at $14.32. Rent was due in 2 days. I was desperate. My phone was at 15%. I was about to call it a night, just go home and accept defeat. And then, ding. I looked at my phone. My jaw dropped. It was an order from a place I'd never even heard of, Les Chasseaux. But the payout was $45. $45 for one order. This was it. This was the unicorn. The GPS took me to the richest part of town. The part with the 10-foot-high hedges and the private security. The part of town I didn't even know existed. The GPS said, "You have arrived," but I was just on a dark road. Then I saw it. A massive black iron gate. The address, it was a mansion. A massive Gothic-looking stone house at the end of a long, long winding driveway. It looked like where Batman's evil cousin would live. There was no sign, just a high iron gate and a call box. I buzzed, feeling way out of my league. My 2004 Civic with the one rusty fender felt like a garbage can on wheels. Food delivery? For, a customer? Alex? A voice came back instantly, smooth as oil. Ah, yes. The collection. We've been expecting you. Please come to the service entrance at the rear. The gate buzzed open with a deafening clank. Collection? That's weird. I drove up the winding, unlit driveway. Trees hung over the road, making it a tunnel. I parked my car next to a black Bentley and a vintage-looking Rolls-Royce. I had to laugh. I felt like a total imposter. I walked around back to the kitchen door. It was opened by a guy who looked like a high-end butler. I'm talking a full-on suit, a little bow tie, the whole thing. He was tall, thin, and smiled at me, but his eyes were like two little black dots. They didn't smile. "The chef is just plating now," he said. His voice was perfect, like a movie villain. "Please, wait." So I waited, and waited, for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm standing there on the stone patio, feeling like a total loser in my hoodie, while I can hear my on-time rating just tanking. My phone buzzed. The customer, Mr. H, had sent a message. "Be patient. You will be compensated." Okay, fine. After 20 minutes, I heard it. From inside the kitchen. A huge crash, like a whole stack of metal pans hitting a tile floor. Then, a man started screaming. It was in French or Italian. I don't know. It was just furious. It was guttural and raw. And then I heard a yelp. A short, sharp "E-uh." It wasn't a "you scared me" yelp. It was a "you hurt me" yelp. It sounded like a woman. Then silence. Just dead, heavy silence. I backed up. "You know what, man? I'm good. I gotta go. Just cancel the order." The butler, Jeeves, reappeared in the doorway, not a hair out of place. He was holding a very, very fancy, heavy-duty paper bag with silver handles. He was still smiling that same empty smile. "Our sincerest apologies," he said. "The chef, he is an artist. Very temperamental, passionate." He handed me the bag. It was warm and heavy. And then he reached into his breast pocket and pulled out a $100 bill. A crisp, new $100 bill. "For your patience," he said. "The customer has already been made aware of the complication." I just stared at the money. 45 plus 100? I snatched it. Thanks. Yeah, no problem. Passionate. Got it." I turned and basically ran back to my car. I got in, locked the doors. My hands were shaking. The whole thing was just off. I looked at the delivery address. It was 30 miles away, out in the middle of nowhere. A gated community called Whispering Pines. Whatever. For this money, I'll drive to the moon. I put the car in drive and peeled out of that driveway. I got onto the dark, winding highway that led out of the hills. My adrenaline was still pumping. I turned on the radio, trying to just chill. And then I smelled it. It wasn't food. It wasn't, fancy duck or whatever. It was iron, like a handful of old wet pennies. It was blood. My stomach churned. No, Alex, it's a steak. It's rare steak. It's le chasseur, right? The hunter. It's probably like venison. I kept driving, but the smell got stronger. It was coppery and sick. I looked at the fancy bag on my passenger seat, and I saw it. A dark, crimson, syrupy stain was blooming on the bottom corner. It was soaking through the thick paper. No way. No. I pulled over on the dark, empty road. There were no streetlights, just my headlights cutting into the fog. I had to look. What if it was just like beet juice? Or wine sauce? My heart was hammering. I tore the bag open. Inside, on top of some aluminum food containers, was a wadded-up, blood-soaked kitchen towel. I didn't want to. God, I didn't want to. But I had to. I pulled the towel, unwrapped it. I threw up. Right there in my car. I projectile vomited all over my dashboard. Because it was a finger. A human finger. A pinky, looked like, with a little gold ring on it. It wasn't a clean cut. I was hyperventilating, crying. I couldn't breathe. I was trying to wipe the sick off and then I saw it, tucked inside the gold ring. A tiny, tightly folded piece of paper. It looked like receipt paper. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely open it. It was scrawled on in red. Red ink or no? It was blood. It was drying. It said, "He's not a chef. The customer is him. He's in the car behind you. He's going to kill you. The address is fake. He wasn't going to let you leave. He keeps the others. In the wine cellar, call 911. My mind couldn't. The customer is him? I looked at the order. Customer, Mr. H, pickup. Les Chasseurs. Delivery, Whispering Pines. He's in the car behind me. I looked in my rearview mirror. Headlights. A car, way back, coming up fast. No, not a car. An SUV. A big black Bentley. My phone. I grabbed my phone. 911. He slammed into me. My head hit the steering wheel. The world went white. My car spun out, stalling in the middle of the road. I was dizzy. The horn was blaring. The Bentley screeched to a halt, blocking the road. The butler, Jeeves, got out. He wasn't in a suit anymore. He was in, like a black tactical vest. And he was holding a meat cleaver. He started walking towards me, his face calm. I was fumbling with the keys. My car wouldn't start. Come on, start. He was at my window. He smiled that dead, black-eyed smile. Tap, tap. He raised the cleaver. The chef, he hissed, his voice still perfectly calm, perfectly polite, insists on cleaning his own plate. And that's all for tonight. Remember, the most terrifying monsters are the ones that look just like us. The ones who might even live right next door. If these stories serve as a good reminder to trust your instincts, then show your support and like and subscribe. Hitting that bell means you'll get a warning before the next nightmare begins. Sleep well, if you can.